Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm ranking not all these cards. I'm ranking the basic Pokemon V cards, the best ones ever. Pokemon V cards were first introduced and presumably last introduced in the Sword and Shield era. The Sword and Shield era came out in the first set was in 2020, so 2020 to 2022. Crown Zenith came out 2023, but it was more like a wrap-up set. So we're looking at cards that are 2020 to 2022, but of course some are still legal now and still good cards now. But obviously I'm not just judging them based on how good they are now because you can't play a lot of them now at all, and some have definitely lost value. Some have gained value though. Arguably, this tier list should like wait a little bit because some could get much better going into like but still a crown just came out, but we have an idea of how good the cards are within that format. But then with the next format, things could change a lot, but it's unlikely it'll change that much. And the cards that we know are good are, already good, and will probably continue to be good, and the ones that aren't good probably won't be that much better. This entire list is based off of the best performing cards from the Sword and Shield era, based on the Played Out Limitless database, as well as me adding in a few other cards from the early days of Sword and Shield, where the database it wasn't really it didn't really exist yet, so the card data was incomplete there. So I added a few cards just based on what I thought deserved to be there. But you can make this tier list for yourself. I'm just going to be doing the basic Pokemon Vs from this tier list, but if you want to make the entire tier list, you can go ahead and do that. This will be for a bigger video, which I'm excited to make, and talking about cards and some other stuff, which you'll see. But subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. But let's hop right in, and we'll go. I don't know what order we'll go in, but we'll start with the best ones. I think the best one is there's two, right? That I think are the best. We're gonna start with Zacian V, and I'll explain these cards. That also you can see the voting here. I don't know if there's a way to turn off. This is Tier Maker live, so I don't know if there's a way to not see this. If there is, that'd be really useful. Comment that down below. I would love to know that, but I don't think there is. It's not that big of a deal though, and potentially useful here. Zacian V. We'll talk about Rotom, but that has an ability that lets you draw 3 cards and end your turn. Zacian V has essentially the same ability, but it's a little more complicated. You can accelerate any of the metal energies you find there to Zacian V, which is useful, definitely, but the main use here of the ability is to just draw 3 cards. And then you have Brave Blade here, which does 234, 3 metals, and it cannot attack next turn. This attack is very similar to Miraidon EX. Miraidon EX is currently a good card in the metagame. It's not the Miraidon from Scarlet and Violet base set. Pretty similar cards. Its attack is not all of that one type, but you do have energy acceleration through the form of items. Zacian V had Metal Saucer, which is like Dark Patch, but it's metal, and it was a very solid card. Only accelerated 2 metal type Pokemon. Zacian V was quite powerful, most notably powerful with a few different tag team GXs. We're not going to really talk about those, but specifically with ADP as well as Lucario Melmetal. Lucario Melmetal is 1 card, and Zacian V was good with those, but it was good without them as well, and still definitely deserving to be in this highest tier. I think this is pretty clearly one of the best cards of the Sword and Shield era and most defining cards of it. So we'll be in S tier. Also, the cards are not going to be ordered. I can't really order the tiers with this live template, even if I wanted to. I kind of could, but it's hard. Then the other best basic Pokemon V, these are ordered by like set symbol alphabetically, so it's kind of weird. But that would be Genesect V. Where is Genesect V? That would be up a little more. UV Max here. There we go. Genesect V. Genesect V has an insane ability. It has a very similar attack to Zacian V. It does less damage, but there are damage buffs. But of course, this card was used within the UV Max deck. If you're not familiar with it, it was a very popular deck and a very, very strong deck, as you can see here. And Genesect V wasn't really like played in anything else, I don't think. So Genesect V was mainly in that deck. I'll talk about UV Max at some point. I've talked about it a few times in the past, and I think UV Max is a little overrated because the main card in that deck is Genesect V with its ability Fusion Strike System. Once during a turn, for each Genesect V you have in play, you may draw cards until you have as many cards in hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, which will be, let's say 6. It could be 5, right? Let's just say 5. You have 4 Genesect Vs and yeah, we'll say you have 4 Genesect Vs and 2 Mews, Mew Vs or V Maxes. That's a pretty solid standard board state. And then you could draw up to 4 different times. That could be drawing up to 24 cards. Unsurprisingly, with a deck like this, you'll want to be able to discard, but you don't need to draw 24 cards in a turn. You need to draw like maybe like 10's a lot still. So you could just have 3 Genesect Vs and four or no and like 5 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, and then all of a sudden you're still drawing theoretically like 15 cards every turn, which is insane. You're obviously not drawing 15 every turn, but even if you're drawing just like 6 or 8, like that's still very strong. It's a basic Pokemon, and it's insane. A lot of people talk about Shaman EX as one of the best basic Pokemon ever, and Genesect V is like Shaman EX every single turn within the deck that it was played in. The Mew VMAX deck built around Genesect V. The attack is meaningful because you'd copy it with Mew VMAX. It was the main attack used in that deck. They're certainly not the only attack, especially this deck called Fusion Mew, which like the deck names, Mew, Genesect, and Fusion Mew, both decks are fusion decks and obviously Mew decks as well. But if you copy Meloetta, which would be doing theoretically more damage than Genesect V at certain points in the game, Ice Cube can do some different things. Then UV Max and UV have different attacks that are usable as well. But Genesect V is definitely going to be the main attacker and definitely one of the best Pokemon we've seen in quite a long time. Then we have some other good Pokemon Vs. I think I'll just go in order for now. We have Starmie V. Keep in mind these are very good cards. So even if a card is in F tier, that does not mean it's a bad card. Well, F tier, the cards in F tier are kind of bad, but the cards in like D tier are just not that impressive. Starmie V has free retreat and it does 50 for each energy attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon. That could be strong. It's specifically good against Arceus V-Star, I think. I'm trying to think of other examples where it is good, but it's like a niche tech Pokemon with some value certainly. Having free retreat's nice, but its HP is low. These basic Pokemon V's, Genesect V does have 190 HP, but it's not an attacker, and also it does theoretically have ways to boost its HP, notably through Oricorio. Well, I guess you take less damage, but same idea. So Starmie V definitely will be looking at a lower HP, which can be an issue, not a massive issue, but I do think D tier fits this card pretty well. And then we have Luxray V. Luxray V is interesting. This is certainly a Pokemon V that is good now, though it's not super great. It has 2 attacks, but the second attack is very rarely used. I can't think of the last time I've seen it used. I think I made a deck where I kind of tried to use it, but it's still very niche. But the first attack here is for 2 colorless, I mean, you can play it with a double turbo, or pay it with a double turbo, which is how it's paid almost always, and it does 30, but the damage doesn't really matter because you look at your opponent's hand and choose a trainer you find there and discard it. That's really powerful. Luxray V is definitely strong. It's one of the strongest disruption cards in the game right now, like disruptive attackers, but those aren't like super strong in general. It is good, but its HP it's pretty normal basic Pokemon V HP, but this could be an issue. It can be just like one-shotted, then obviously that's not great. So especially if you don't really get a good trainer. So it's a bit of like a gamble with when you're using it. But it is a solid card, although pretty niche. Like it's not a card. It is a card you could put in a lot of different decks as well. Theoretically, you could put it in any deck that is playing double turbo energy. Obviously, I mentioned it's like a control. It's a disruptive card, so played in control decks mostly. But we do see it in Mew VMAX as well. I didn't play much Mew VMAX and did not play it with Luxray V when I did. I think it's C and B tier. Looking at these Pokemon V, I'll put it in C tier. Um, it's obviously, it's a card that has value, but um, it's nothing like absolutely insane. You're not obviously applying too much pressure a lot of the time, and your opponent can play around it if they know that it is coming. So I feel like C tier feels pretty fair, which is still like a solid card. Next up, we got ourselves Weird Year V. Weird Year V is definitely a card that it's weird. I mean, it's in the name. Weird Year V. Its attack does it's an energy ramp attack, 40 for each energy attached to it. It is all colorless as well. And then when you switch it into the active, it does not switch itself into the active, unlike something like Iron Leaves EX. But when it does, you get to move any amount of energy from any of your Pokemon you want to it, and it's played predominantly what I remember is Lugia, and then you could play it in random stuff. I've also played it with TMS Ogre Pontiacs, which is a legit deck in my opinion, but not going to change things too much as it's pretty new and not like super strong. As a tech in Lugia, it's okay. It was solid, I feel like, but it's not that good, right? You're not going to be hitting insane amounts of damage super consistently. Comparing it to Cinccino, right? Cinccino is a very powerful Pokemon. It's definitely hitting noticeably less than that, and it's on a multi-prizer. So in terms of a multi-prize attacker, it's like just kind of mediocre. It can be hitting insane damage and can be a very good finisher within that deck. It kind of kept the deck afloat. Like looking at some of, just taking a look at like this deck here, when you had a lot of pretty underwhelming attackers like Drapion V, which is, we'll talk about it, but it was really counted to be VMAX, and it's not counted to be VMAX here because there is no VMAX. And you have all these like pretty mediocre attackers, and I feel like that's not making Weirdo V sound better though. It's like just an option in this like kind of mediocre box. So I think it's either C or D tier, kind of like some of the other ones we've been taking a look at. I'll put it in D tier. It's definitely one of the weaker Pokemon Vs here. Next up, we have NTV. NTV is pretty interesting. NTV has been played in some different things. It's definitely been the poster child of the fire type for a while. I feel like some people associate fire type with Charizard EX. It's not a fire Pokemon, but it uses fire energy. But I don't. I associate it with NTV and Magma Basin, as well as maybe Gouging Fire EX as well. But Charizard EX is a very good deck, and that's where NTV has been played, as well as with these like fire box style decks. We see Anti-Iron Valiant, a lot of Charizard, and some other things as well. This is the database that I'm looking at here is the competitive in-person database, so it's definitely seen play at like a lower level, but it's still been solid. I definitely think it's a solid Pokemon. I'll talk about Raikou V and Suicune V here as well. Actually, no, they are essentially the same card, but because they're different types, and actually Suicune V was a different era than no, I'll separate them. They're kind of weird to talk about together. I definitely think this is a pretty solid Pokemon in terms of just like raw stats. It's got decent HP, good damage, usable ability, and has been what's kind of been keeping Fire afloat, especially with its usability. It being a Pokemon V, it can use Forest Heal Stone, which has been very meaningful. It's true of like every card here, but it's been, I think, most applicable of the cards so far to NTV. Maybe Genesect V more so, but definitely a pretty solid attacker here that's been uninspiring because of the pieces around it. I scrolled away. There we go. Then we have Raichu V and Raikou V. These are kind of similar. Raikou V is like the same as NTV, which is 20 and 20 more for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent. And they have, if it's in the active, you can draw yourself a card. Raikou V has one retreat and has 200 HP, though it's the lowest of the three. Then we have Raichu V, again, also with 200 HP, and it can actually attack turn one going first, which is like a thing. It doesn't really matter that much, but it is a thing, which is kind of funny to know. But you can do 60, discard any amount of energies discarded, or any amount of lightning energies, 60 for each card discarded, kind of like Chimpao EX, or some other cards kind of like it, but Chimpao EX is a big one. Lightning's been, honestly, it's been in a similar spot to Fire, except it's been a little bit better, ignoring Charizard EX, which, as I said, I don't really count as Fire. I mean, it's not Fire. So Raikou V has been in a similar spot, like kind of supporting it. You have had Miraidon EX being quite solid, Electric Generator being very explosive, allowing for Raichu V to kind of blossom. Raichu V also had Flaffy, which accelerated energy from the discard pile, which means that it also recovers the energy, which is really nice for Raichu V. Raichu V has definitely been a card that has helped with lightning, like I'll call it lightning box here, with its issues. Miraidon, if we just open up like a random list here, this plays Magazine Vista. Okay, it plays a variety of attackers, and most of them can't take one shots except for Raichu V. Raikou V, on the other hand, is also, they have like very similar names, which is kind of annoying. But Raikou V here has been played in different decks. We see it in Lugia. We see it in decks with energy variety. Yeah, this is not luminous energy, but some like this would probably be a luminous energy. Legacy energy. Yeah, and luminous energy. Yeah, so you can play it in different decks. It's been one of the main Force Seal Stone users in Lost Zone as well. Lost Zone has been a deck that's kind of had a weird identity. Wow, this is just a weird list. I want like a normal list. This list is pretty normal, and it is the only, oh, there is no Force Seal Stone. Okay, well, it is the main Force Seal Stone user within the deck a lot of the time. This list plays it. It's the only Force Seal Stone user in this deck, but it still plays it. It's a very powerful card, of course, which allows you to search your deck for any card, but it's like a once per game V-Star power, but it is very good. So Raikou V is within the deck as a card with some different use cases, but it's not like the star of the show at all. I think it's a B tier card, just like Entei here. And I'd actually say the same thing of Raichu V, right? No, Raichu V, not Radiant Heatran. Raichu V as well is probably also a B tier. It is very strong at its strongest, but also can be somewhat disappointing as well. So then the next card here is going to be, oh, I think I skipped Luminiana V. Well, let's get back to that one. This is a very good card. This is So Lumen MV, of course, on play searches for a supporter, and it's on play from hand, not from deck. So as Nest Ball and Battle VIP Pass were very prominent within the format, Lumen MV has lost a lot of value. Obviously, that's something that you don't want. Like, that does hurt the card, right? But has that removed it from S tier? I don't think so. It's not. I'm trying to look at like what are the A tier Pokemon V. I think S tier is pretty exclusive. It's almost definitely the best Pokemon V in the game right now. It's pretty clearly at least a tier above these cards, and it is a card that you can play in a lot of decks, but it's not a card that's like a staple in every deck, and really is super important to any individual deck. It's pretty good in Lugia. I mean, it's seen a lot of play. I guess it's S tier. It's to me on the bubble, but it is a pretty good card here. Definitely one of the best, but not the very best. Still very strong with its ability. The Nest Ball and Battle VIP passing are really bad for it. And we'll talk about Crobat V. That did not really have that issue. It had Quick Ball, which was a Pokemon search card that put the Pokemon into your hand, so you could actually play it and then get value out of its ability. But Lumineon V still definitely a very strong card. And then we have Kricketune V, which let you draw till you had 3 cards in hand, unless it was in the active, where it let you draw till you have 4. There was Air Balloon, I believe. Yeah, I think Air Balloon. There might have been some other cards like it, but Air Balloon, which let you retreat for free, essentially. It's kind of like Rescue Board, and so you could just stick that on, and you'd be in a good spot. But that wasn't necessarily like always played on Kricketune V. So it's kind of like Mew EX. Mew EX has a lot of value for different reasons. The Kricketune V, I guess I should say, like, there are low HP Pokemon V like Lumineon V, Kricketune V, Crobat V, which have powerful draw abilities, but then they have lower HP. Kricketune V is definitely not one of the best of those. I don't think it's making it's even into A tier here, floating around B or C tier. It was theoretically like a very strong card. Mew EX is like a really strong card. If I was putting Mew EX on this list, I'd put it in S tier. Definitely not like the best basic Pokemon EX, I guess, but it's very good. Kricketune V has seen play. It's kind of in this like realm where there wasn't a lot of tournament results being picked up within this database, but I think it's probably a C tier card, a very like mediocre draw Pokemon, but not a bad draw Pokemon. And being a draw Pokemon theoretically, these are like the best Pokemon in the game. It's like the worst of the best, so I feel like C tier fits it all right. Definitely very different than pretty much every other Pokemon on this list though. The next Pokemon V looks like it is Empoleon V. Empoleon V is interesting. It's kind of like Klefki. It's pretty much like Klefki. It's more so like mostly a counter to Lost Zone. It's an okay one, but nothing super spectacular. Its attack isn't very good. It's kind of like reverse Iron Thorn GX, but Iron Thorn GX counters like the best decks in the game. Empoleon V like doesn't. Oh, I saw play in like water-based decks as well. So it's Rapid Strike. Rapid Strike got some tools, but they don't really matter for most of these cards, to be honest. They do matter some for Polygon V, so it slid pretty easily into those decks, but it wasn't super powerful, definitely. I think it's D tier. Like, it's not a card that has a ton of value within the decks that it was played in. It's not like it didn't have any value, and in some matchups it was pretty insane, but it was a pretty matchup dependent card, and I feel like matchup dependent cards are generally not as good unless they have a lot of raw value. So I'll put it in D tier here. Next up, we got ourselves Tyranitar V. Tyranitar V is like kind of bad, but then it was really good in Lugia with Single Strike. I think that's really it. Oh, that's not what I want. Um, So Tyranitar V. Oh, there's like I forgot there was a different Tyranitar. There might have been three. I don't remember. There might have just been two. But Tyranitar V was good in Okay, well, Limitless doesn't like show this how I was expecting them to show it. There's a deck called Single Strike Lugia. Oh, apparently someone played just Tyranitar. But you got this deck here with some very, very generic single strike Pokemon. Tyranitar V is like the poster child of that. Oh no, Yveltal's the poster child of generic single strike Pokemon, but Tyranitar V definitely kind of fits that. Its second attack is very expensive, and you mill yourself for. The first attack is very mediocre. It did like hit for weakness, which was kind of good, but also like only being good if you hit for weakness is kind of disappointing. Definitely one of the it's kind of like Weird Year V. I look at similarly to that. Weird Year V was pretty niche though. It was not like the main attacker. Tyranitar V is the main attacker. Weird Year V was like the main Pokemon V attacker, but it wasn't in a format where Pokemon V were the big things. But Tyranitar V, or were the main attackers. Tyranitar V is definitely the main attacker in the deck, so I'll put it in C tier. Not really good. It like fit into the meta in like a very weird spot. That's why I'm kind of keeping it down here. I could see it in no, actually, I'll put it in B tier. B tier feels all right. Then we got have I skipped any? It looks like I haven't. If I have, I will come back. Stoutland V. Stoutland V is pretty niche. It does for 3 colorless. It does 40, and if you take a knockout, you take an extra prize. It's like a bad Iron Hands EX. Obviously, Iron Hands EX is a very good card, so being a bad version of that is not like that big of an issue. I saw a specific play within the Lugia V Star deck with powerful colorless energy. This deck was absolutely insane, but was only in the game for a short period of time and like a really short period of time. Lugia V Star came out and it was good, and then well, Crown Zenith was like in there, but I don't really count that as a set. So then Scarlet and Violet came out, and then you lost powerful color essentially. You didn't really play Stoutland V after that. It has some niche use cases within some other things, but it was really just like a mediocre Pokemon in Lugia V during Lugia V's prime when it was like absurdly good. But I think it's only going to be a um, like it was good against some things. It could just absolutely dominate games. So I'll put it in C tier here. Next we got ourselves Zacian V, the Psychic Zacian V, which was an attacker in Gardevoir. It was like the second attacker in Gardevoir. I'll pull up the single first Gardevoir. It's actually the same exact attack. It's an energy ramp attack, and you just get lots of energy on it. And it also had an ability that let you accelerate energy, which was like okay, but not like super good. It caused some issues as well. You wouldn't always want to play it, but the Zacian V is like very mediocre. I think it's not bad. It's like good. It was in a strong deck, like a top 5 deck, certainly with like a being the secondary attacker. Secondary attackers usually just aren't like anything super special, but it was pretty good, and I'll say it's either B or C tier. I'm looking at these cards. I think it's trying not to like go with the recency bias thing or say like it's like not played now, so it's not good. I mean, it's not in format, but I think it's C tier. C tier feels pretty fair. It's nothing super strong. I'm not a big fan of Gardevoir. This is my tier list. It's an opinion video, so I'll put it in C tier. Then we have what's next? Zero or V. This one's kind of weird. It's pretty niche. There's not too much to say about this card. I don't want to really dawdle on it. It was like used. It was theoretically supposed to be really good with the Rayquaza VMAX, right? Rayquaza VMAX was kind of bad. Um, Zero Aura V was played within. I don't really know what it was played in. It wasn't played too much. It's not a completely terrible card, but it's definitely not that good. Definitely a D tier card. Then we have Galarian Articuno V. This is a really weird card. Pretty terrible draw card. It only drew 1 and you discarded 2, which is obviously generally not good. Discarding cards has value, but Galarian Articuno V definitely did not have that much value. Pretty niche, not completely terrible, but I'll definitely put it in D tier here as well. And we got the other birds. Galarian Zapdos V is absolutely insane. It's kind of like Radiant Charizard, and it's more similar to Incineroar EX, but people don't really play that, so I'll say it's like Radiant Charizard. It's fighting in 3 colors, but 1 colorless less for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play, which is probably going to be 3. At this time, Vs were just everywhere, and it did 170 for 1 fighting. If they had a bunch of Vs in play, which as they probably did, then before doing damage, you just got a special energy from your opponent's active. It was particularly countered with Turner's VMAX, but was good in a lot of different scenarios as well. Definitely a pretty solid card. I feel like it's a B tier attacker, definitely a solid one here. Then with Glaring Moltres V, this one's tough to consider. It accelerates an energy to itself. You can only use one of its ability per turn. Like you can't use it on multiple different clearance Moltres Vs, but it was very powerful. You could do 190 for 3, but you can almost view the attack as free or at least very cheap. You do damage yourself. There's some kind of weird interactions, but they don't really matter too much. At the end of the day, this card was very good against some UV max. They're not like auto game winning or anything like that, but it was pretty good. Kind of created decks on its own and was a very strong attacker. It's a card I'm very fond of as well. It's bordering on S tier. I don't know if it quite makes it there. I'm gonna take a quick look at what it was played in. But it was very strong, definitely. And it was played in it was played in Roaring Moon EX2 and then Lost Zone, in addition to box Arceus decks. They were mostly box decks, the ones it was played in, but it was definitely a strong card. So I'm going to put in S tier, a very, very solid attacker, versatile. One of the main four Seal Stone Pokemon in a few different decks, including Lost Zone. It wasn't after it rotated, but you got Glaring Moltres V. You didn't even necessarily play Raikou V, but you could. I feel like that was definitely something that was played. But Glaring Moltres V was very good, and they opened up some really crazy combos. And then we have Blissey V, a very mediocre Pokemon, and it just attacks. It kind of like energy ramps to itself, but ultimately it was a Pokemon that was like very flawed, and it could really struggle if your opponent didn't give you lots of space to work with. So I'm going to put it in C tier. I know some people are big fans of this, but it's not the most powerful card. It's okay, you know. Then we have what's next? Vikavolt V. Vikavolt V is a very strong. This is a clear A tier Pokemon. I won't linger on it too much, but it was an item lock Pokemon, one of the best item lock Pokemon we've seen in quite a while, but only within like at the very beginning and very end of when it was format. In the middle, it was just like very mediocre. But when it was good, it was honestly the best attacker in the game. So it was very good. Item lock is annoying, but it's been on evolution, so you can just actually like you're not always item locked. Specifically in the first turn, you're guaranteed not to be item locked. But Vikavolt V could do it turn one, and it was pretty insane. Then we have Medicham V. I've definitely skipped some. Crobat V. Crobat V is a pretty clear S tier. Draw till you have 6 cards in hand. Very good. It's a very strong draw Pokemon. Its on play ability, you could search it out with Quick Ball, so you could just like Quick Ball and then play it. And then all of a sudden you're drawing a bunch of cards off of a Pokemon search card. It's very good. Pretty clearly S tier. One of the best Pokemon Vs. Probably third best behind Zacian V and Genesect V. I'm not sure which order those two would be in. Then we have the other one that I saw, which was Medicham V. Medicham V is pretty wonky. It allows you to like take an extra turn if you take a knockout with its 2 energy attack cost. It's attack that costed 2 energy, and it plays damage counter, so you could use double turbo energy. You could use rapid strike energy. That had a second attack that was actually usable, but not particularly good. It wasn't very good, but it was an attack you would use. It's not like usable because it's okay. It's usable because like you found yourself in these weird situations where you had to use it, where it did provide value. But it was like a weird combo card. I think it's a pretty clear B tier Pokemon. The combos you pulled off were pretty powerful. Taking extra turns obviously huge, specifically allowing you to reuse once per turn abilities. An extra turn, getting a lot of value out of that. So I feel like it's a pretty clear B tier, but also it is like a somewhat niche use Pokemon. Next up, we have what this is just a big mess of things. I wish I could like separate that more. Crabominable V is a really interesting Pokemon. Milling 2 for 1 is good. We see it with Chew EX, which is a solid Pokemon, but now you have higher HP. You do have like a really high retreat, which is bad. But you also have your Pokemon V, so you can use 4 Seal Stone, which is really huge. And also you have this attack that can just like do absurd amounts of damage with like certain setup. The second attack was niche, but it was definitely an attack that was used. Um, just where are you? With on Crabominal V, you could see it in Snorlax. We could see it in these like water box decks. You got Palkia, you got Frostmoth, and they accelerate energies, and all of a sudden you're like hitting like 1,000 damage on your opponent's Pokemon because it's just like a really high multiplier. But you just like do a little bit of damage, and all of a sudden, boom, they're knocked out. So pretty solid Pokemon here. Not like super good, but it's a B tier here. Then we have I've done most of these Pokemon Vs, but there's definitely a few left. Delphox V, this one's very mid. It's like it's definitely just like a tier below NTV. It's like countered and not super strong, but there are times when it's good. Radiant Greninja is obviously a very good card, and Delphox V has some of that, like emulates some of the power of that, but not quite. It has some downsides, including not discarding the energy. If you discard the energy, you do better because you can re-accelerate the energy from the discard. You have the Lost Zone name. It's a Lost Zone Pokemon. It has like the Lost Zone effects here, and so I think it's a pretty clear C tier, mediocre, not a terrible card, but not great either. Next we got. We're definitely like breaking order, but we got Rotom V. Rotom V lets you draw 3 cards and it ends your turn. Definitely worse than Zacian V, a card that was a bit of a laughing stock for a little while, because it was like an attacker. It was really bad. But I'm trying to think of how much play it saw like early days. I'm pretty sure this is gonna go in A tier. I think like recency, but yeah, like these are all like pretty new events. And so it didn't really see much play before now, but right now it's a staple card, so I feel like A tier feels really perfect for it. I think this is a card that, like, I'm looking at the results here. People are mostly putting in S tier. It's definitely ain't that good. I think this is like a recency bias type of card where people are putting it really high. It's definitely a pretty good card. It's not like it's been like not that important for a long time, but it's been quite good for a while. But it's definitely not one of the best cards we've seen from the era, but it is still a very good card. And then also it was like overshadowed by Zacian V. It's like, why do I want this Pokemon that's like this Pokemon with a really good ability and an attack, but I just take away the attack and have less HP. But it's still a very good card. And then, where are we? Got Drapion V. This knocks out VMAX. That's what it does. It does some other things as well. It's counter to a very good card. It's B tier. Completely agree with what other people have said. It's B tier. Well, not this person who put in S tier, but it's definitely a B tier card. It's an okay card, a very good counter card. But being a pure counter can only get you so good, so high. But it is one of the best pure counters we've seen in quite a while. But does not auto win that matchup either. Then Pidgeot V's this weird Pokemon. It stops you from decking out due to just natural causes. You could get milled out, but you can't just normally deck out. And it also is like a Force Heal Stone target. It has this like usable attack. It like heals itself up essentially as well, but that's kind of weird. I'd say it's like a B tier Pokemon. It has value, or is it? No, it might be a C tier Pokemon. I think it's a C tier Pokemon. It's very much could go in either of these tiers. I feel like it would be completely fine, but I'll put in C tier. I do like control, but I feel like it's kind of a boring card. Next up, we got ourselves Eldeos V. This is another Pokemon. It's like it's a very good. It's a support Pokemon. It's kind of like Luminia Viva covers support instead of searching it. And I think it's an A tier Pokemon. It didn't end up seeing it too much play, but theoretically was a very strong Pokemon and had its own deck, which was kind of weird. That was like really weird. Well, it wasn't exactly its own deck, but its attack like puts it back into your hand, and then on play it like covers supporters. So you have this deck with is this the deck? This might be the deck. And so you got yourselves. No, this isn't the deck. There's the one with Mewtwo V Union where you're like Mewtwo V Union, and then Eldeos or something. Maybe that's not how the deck worked, but it saw play in like a variety of decks. It wasn't ever like a truly elite, like every deck needs this card type of card, but it was still pretty strong. Then we got Bolton V. Bolton V is a pretty interesting Pokemon with the setup attack and a solid damaging attack. It's kind of like a toned down version of Raichu V that was better in the late game. Maybe not better in the late game, better in like the late, but not very, very late game. And better in the early game probably as well, but also like less explosive. And it's a card that's solid. It's helped out by the cards around it being really good, which being a good card, obviously you need good cards around you, but it was definitely one of the weaker cards in the deck it was in. I think I'll put it in B tier. Definitely not the best of the lightning cards, but was good. Putting it below Vikavolt V feels kind of weird. Like Vikavolt V was definitely worse than Bolton V for a lot of the time when they were in format together. Um, but no, I'll put it in A tier. I was never a fan of the Pikarom deck, which is what this was in, but it was a solid and very important component to it. Being like a 2 prize or in a 3 prize deck also gave you some really strong options there. And they got Ditto V. Ditto V is pretty bad, to be honest. It V transformation like switches into another V, but its HP is super low. its ability could get turned off, then it's just completely useless. And it didn't really like do that many cool things. Like theoretically, it was a cool card, but what was this played in? I know it was played in like Arceus, and just like some weird stuff. Played in Vikavolt. Yeah, these are just like random use cases. Unfortunately, it's a really cool card, but it's not very good. Unfortunately, saw play, but when it saw play, it was not very spectacular either. Then we have how many Pokemon have I skipped? I feel like I can't have skip that many. Tapu Koko V. Tapu Koko V is like a mediocre Lightning V. I don't really remember this card seeing that much play, but also it was okay. I mean, I feel like when it did see play, it was solid. Its attack output, damage output's like arguably as good as Pikachu and Zekrom. Definitely like a very old card. I mean, it is an old card, one of the oldest cards on this list, but also saw play mostly with older cards. I think it's a B tier card. No, is it B tier? It's a B tier or C tier. Um, its first attack isn't particularly good. Its second attack is solid, and it is you play with its VMAX as well. Um, Pikarom was so good. I think I'll put it in the B tier. I think that feels pretty fair for well, it's as good as like Raichu V and Raikou V. Yeah, I think it is different eras definitely, but an okay card. Then we have we have Save Live V. Oh no, we have Indeedee V. This card was kind of bad. It like healed. I've never seen anyone play this card. I've like seen it. I know that it saw play, but I've never seen anyone play this card. It like healed and like did some damage and stuff, but I don't know. I don't think it's very good. I'm gonna put it in F tier. Then we have Sableye V. This card was so funny. This is one of the ones. It's like Crabominal V. Their attacks are essentially the same, except it doesn't have the middle attack, which is like the main attack in Crabominal. But I could do so much damage. It's kind of cheap. It's very low HP, but you could do like 1,000 damage with it, which is really funny. Obviously, 1,000 damage isn't really what you're looking to do. I think it's a D tier Pokemon. It's a really fun Pokemon. Let me take a look at its like tournament play. Um, Obviously, tournament play doesn't determine everything, but it is something that does matter some, and I did not see very much. And it's mostly playing like some weird decks. The Dark Inteleon or Inteleon Dark Box is like a Dark Box. Dark Box is just such a generic name. Like there's a Dark Box deck in Standard now, but um, it's definitely a really fun deck. But it's not that good. It's kind of funny. You could do some crazy combos. This is definitely not the deck that I played either. It played the other Inteleon. I played the Inteleon, which actually let you like do damage. It's kind of like this, but this was the cast form. Yeah, there's some weird stuff, but I'll put it in D tier. A really fun Pokemon, definitely not the strongest though. Zamazenta V is a very powerful Pokemon walling off VMAXs. VMAXs were good. We'll talk about those, I imagine, in a future video, but um, obviously completely like walls off VMAXs, but in any other situation, it's almost completely useless. Though it can discard special energy, which has value in certain situations, but it's not that useful. It was a solid attack. Always, the second Pokemon behind Zacian V. I think it's a solid B tier Pokemon. It didn't really no, it's a solid A tier. It did allow Zacian VDEX to have some matchups that were almost turned into auto wins, and had value in other matchups as well. Being worse than one of the best Pokemon um, of the era is not bad. Zacian or Zamazenta V definitely like was worse than that, but it was okay and could take advantage and do some of the really powerful things of Zacian V. Not like the insane damage, but could tank hits and then just win those like win matchups in a way that Zacian V couldn't. Then we have Cramorant V. This one has a snipe-based attack and a search attack. This is again a pretty mediocre Pokemon V. Theoretically really solid, but its attack was just never super easy to pay. You could pay it with the Welder though. Maybe it's an A tier Pokemon. I'm definitely flipping between those two. Most of these decks are Welder decks. U-Box whoa, this is expanded. That's not where I wanted to go. Play it in like grass decks, but these are mostly Welder decks. Then we have Cramorant V within Cramorant V Max, which is certainly an interesting deck, but not the strongest. But it was pretty solid. Its setup attack was not very useful, unfortunately. It did have value, but generally when you were using it, that's not a good position. But I will put it in the A tier. Then we have Dragonite V. This is a pretty interesting Pokemon. This is like the main Pokemon V, I guess, of Lost Zone, and that was really what it was played in. It was a weird card because it didn't like have a regular art, which was kind of annoying. I mean, this is the regular art, but it's like a promo. It was in the set. You kind of know what I'm talking about, but it's It's okay. I always found it kind of awkward to use, but it's strong. Definitely one of the stronger Pokemon V. Just stats wise, it's quite good. So I'll put it in A tier. And then we got Hoopa V. I'm not talking about Mewtwo V. I'll talk about that when I talk about VMAX, I guess. But Hoopa V is it is a Fusion Strike Pokemon, but it's here as like this tech attacker in the decks that play Glare Moltres V. You could play Hoopa V. I think Hoopa V is probably a B tier Pokemon. Has some really strong use cases, being able to it's kind of like a Terra, but it actually did the things that the Terras were supposed to do, which is like hit certain weaknesses. So Uber V was a really cool card and definitely one that is really fun. And then we have Hisuian Electrode V. I feel like this card is pretty bad. Let's see. So it saw play obviously with the Cloth Electrode deck. This deck wasn't that good. It is still in the game as well. I guess it sneaks its way into D tier. I think it's pretty like it wasn't ever particularly good, but it wasn't completely terrible when it was in the format either. It was pretty good in certain situations, but it was always the second like Cloth is good. No, I'm gonna put an F tier. Cloth is a good Pokemon. Student Electrode V is not a good Pokemon, so it's going in F tier. I know there are fans of this card, but they're fans of this card because it's like a funny card that isn't super strong. It is a free attack, the best free attack we've seen in quite a long time, but free attacks aren't very good normally. Then we got one more, I think. We might have more than one more, but that is Aegislash-V, which is a tech metal Pokemon, which most people in F tier. This is not an F tier Pokemon. This is a it's like a C tier Pokemon. It was a very good tech card. It allows you to just hit through effects of attacks. And Metal, I was mentioning, you had Zashing V, you had Zamazenta V, but you could just put an Aegislash-V to auto win matchups that would previously be auto losses, and it was pretty good for that. It was definitely a very solid like anti-tech Pokemon. Do we have any other basic Vs here? I don't want to just forget one. We'll see if I forget one. If I do, it will be down in the comments section, so check that out and leave a comment while you're there as well. But I think I got all the Pokemon Vs, the basics. Obviously, there are V stars and V maxes, which I did not get, but yeah, Pokemon Vs were a really fun mechanic. I mean, they were fun in the ways that they were implemented. There are some really cool cards. Nothing super crazy. The EX mechanic's probably better than the V mechanic, but still some cool cards. We'll talk about the V stars and V maxes later, I imagine. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, all that good stuff. Here is the tier list as well. Tell me if you want me to add to this tier list or like redo the tier list with just covering the V max and V stars. But I think I do want to add and create a full tier list at the end. But I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, all the good stuff. Join the channel as well. That's a cool thing, and we can get some fun perks. And I will be expanding that over time as well. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'm excited to see you in the next video.